Alright, what's up everybody? Back doing another video of If I Did This Movie podcast. However, I have already done this episode. Not a highly viewed episode, and it's also an hour and 47 minutes long, so I'm going to redo it and shorten it. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Alright, so this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is set in 1987. It's going to be an authentic 80s movie. Not like an ironic 80s movie, not an 80s movie that's going to not a Today movie commenting on the 80s and how stupid it was, because I really hate that. It's going to have the montage, the whole works. Very much going to sort of be a remake of the 1990 film. Going to have the same themes. It's going to be the movie where we meet the Turtles. It's going to have Shredder. The Foot Clan is going to operate pretty much the same way. Shredder's recruiting kids off the street. It's a runaway teen story. And also staying on track with every Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film being from the perspective of one particular character and fitting their mood. 1990 was Raphael's movie. Secret of the Ooze is Donatello's movie. Turtles in Time is Michelangelo's movie. TMNT is Leonardo's movie. And the 2014 is April's movie. Out of the Shadows is Bebop and Rocksteady's movie. This one is going to be Shredder's movie. Alright, so movie opens with a group of dudes doing a dressed up in like spy versus spy outfits with the trench coats and the big hats. And they're jacking a subway car like Pelham 123 style. And they're hooking up bombs to the side of the car that they stole, which is looks like the NES bombs that you have to dismantle under that dam. And then we meet April O'Neil, played by Chrissie Mayr, giving us our exposition about what's happening. These guys are taking hostages in the subway train, asking for a ransom, all that horse shit. And she drops the name of this villain, which this is an obscure pull from deep in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles lore. Gridlock. If you don't know who that is, he was the villain in that horrible promo they did in California for like Blue Line, some kind of transportation service. It was like supposed to be green energy. However, one of the reasons I kind of want to use this character is not only because it's a great Easter egg, but because whoever made that, obviously they didn't have the rights to a Shredder or whatever, but they really could have just painted a soccer ball and put googly eyes on it and called it Krang. I mean, they really didn't. Whoever wrote that skit put a thinking cap on and invented a new character that has potential to be pretty badass. So, instead of being stupid like the other Gridlock, this one is going to be like one of those highly intelligent terrorist types, kind of like Kaiser Soze from Usual Suspects, like at the beginning when he shoots what's his name, Gabriel Byrne, like that creepy, ominous, just cold-blooded. So he's planning to, if he doesn't get what he wants, he's going to launch this train into the center of town with bombs attached to it. He's going to pretty much take out the entire transit system, hence this his code name Gridlock. So we get one of the bad guys is outside in the sub, not outside, but he's out in the subway tunnels, like walking the tunnels looking for cops or whatever, and then you hear voices fucking with him from the shadows doing that like Friday the 13th thing. They keep like banging on the pipes and shit, and then all of a sudden, just like horror movie style, he just gets grabbed out of the dark. We cut back to the inside of the train where we see Gridlock being all menacing and shit, and his henchman's head just hits the window. Big splash of blood on it. And they all go outside. Dude's laying there all bloody. And then, so Gridlock looks around, assesses the situation, and goes, "Alright, guys, blow it." And then the bombs come down from on top of the train, land, they're all dismantled. And then you see the flashlights go up, you get the turtles go into fight stance. Bam, there's the title, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And we cut to all the people running out of the subway, all the hostages, and we hear Michelangelo comes over the radio and says, "Alright, NYC, your bad guys are ready in car 2. Be sure to tip your waitress." One of those old 80s jokes. And April and Vern go rushing down the tunnel, filming the hostages. April's giving her commentary. We get a shot of the bad guys all piled up inside the subway car. Cops shoo April and Vern out of the subway. We see her coming up to the street. And one of the little girls that was a hostage on the train asked her if she saw the turtles. And she goes, "What? Turtles?" And then we go to the sewers where our boys are walking down the tunnel, all hyped up, except this time, instead of Raphael being all sulky and pissed, it's Leonardo that's sulky and pissed. So they make it to the door. Leo catches Raph, pulls him aside, and goes, "Hey man, what was that in there?" Referring to slamming that guy's head into the train car so hard. And he's like, "Dude, what was that, man? You could have killed that guy." And Raph goes, "Yeah, so what?" And then he walks back in the house, and Leonardo goes, "Damn it." They get excited. "Oh man, when's he getting out?" Casey's in jail. This is also inspired by my theory about why Casey Jones is not in Secret of the Ooze. Because Secret of the Ooze takes place the next day, pretty much. Or like 2 days. Some people have said like 2 or 3 weeks, which is, that's impossible. I don't even remember in that movie anywhere where they specified time period, but it couldn't have been longer than 3 days. But I'm assuming Casey Jones is in jail. So this Casey's in jail, which is explained in the following film, which is a prequel. That already has a video that's properly short enough. But it sets up that they know Casey Jones. So Splinter tells them to set the table and whatnot. Leonardo decides not to rat out Raph over the killing a guy incident. Alright, so really quick, the cast of this group is Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa is Splinter. You may know him as Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat 1995. Usually plays a villain, but it'd be interesting to see him play a good guy character for once. Leonardo, William Zabka. Raphael is Louis J. Gomez. Donatello is played by Joe DeRosa. And Michelangelo is played by Razor Fist. See the other video if you want detailed reasons for why I picked these particular 4. But if you know who they are, you obviously can see why. And because this isn't going to be 80s, wink wink, over and over again, I actually would just rather cast people who know how to be teenagers from the 80s instead of trying to have teenagers from, nowadays, trying to interpret teenagers from 30 fucking years ago or 40 years ago. That just made me sad a little. So Mikey and Donatello are the ones that head out up into the world because they use Casey Jones's video renter card to rent videos at the video store. And just to kind of goof on the old Michael Bay Turtles, because these are going back to just the original designs. Possibly bodysuits with just CGI faces, if it doesn't look too ridiculous. But to goof on Michael Bay and the Michael Bay Turtles, just because the outfits on those were so busy, their disguises are so over the top that they draw more attention than they deflect. Like, Michelangelo is dressed like an over-the-top mountain man costume. He looks like the Jigglebilly from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Donatello is all done up like a Hasidic Jew, and they're renting videos together. And this leads to the two of them arguing over the merits of Blade Runner. It's Razor Fist's favorite movie, and Joe DeRosa hates it. And while it seems like that should be the other way around, character-wise, but that's what fuels the argument. Michelangelo is in so much disbelief that Donatello does not like this movie. And just the whole time Donnie's like, "Oh, there was a unicorn in it? I don't know. I wasn't awake long enough." And then Mikey's like, "But it was," all the... And arguing about it the way 80s teenagers would argue about it. Not like two film nerds that's like, "No, but Ridley Scott did this and this and this and this." Like, from the perspective of a 15-year-old whose mind was blown by that fucking bore fest, called Blade Runner. They end up renting Critters 2. Actually, wait, no, Critters 2 came out in 1988. That doesn't work because this is in 87. Maybe I'm being a little too technical, but it would be cool if they rented Critters 2. So they take this argument to the clerk, who is played by Tony from Hack the Movies, and he's all just like red-eyed and stoned. And Michelangelo's like, hey, okay, fine, we'll ask an expert. Dude, Blade Runner. Awesome, right? And then the clerk just looks at Mikey, looks at Donnie, looks at Mikey, looks at Donnie, looks at Mikey, looks at Donnie, and then he just points at Mikey and goes, weren't you the Jew last time? And then Donnie's like, hey, focus, dude, come on. Blade Runner, yay or nay? And he just goes, it was alright. And Michelangelo's like, see? And Donnie's like, point settled. He's like, what? He's like, he didn't say it sucked? And he goes, yeah, he didn't say it was great either. Alright, so while that's going on, down in the sewers, Splinter has Leonardo and Raphael, and he is working out why Leonardo's mad. He's finally gotten it out of him, and this discussion comes up of this incident where Raphael hurt Michelangelo during a sparring match. Mikey got the better of him, said some Mikey shit, and Raph just ended up putting a really bad hurt on him out of anger. And this happened a while back, but Raphael's never got a chance to properly apologize for it. It's a thing, as soon as he did it, he was sorry, but nobody gave him a chance to do that. Everybody just jumped up his ass. So now it's just kind of a pissed mist hanging around in the sewer. And when they sit down to dinner and they're saying grace, which Mikey is leading grace. And yeah, they say grace. It's a family. They learn it from Casey Jones, and I didn't do it to push a religious message, although it does kind of wink at that coming out of their shells thing. If anybody remembers that, they had that uncomfortable Jesus moment. But it's really more about the family togetherness aspect of this tradition. And they learn it from Casey Jones. And as scavenger animals, that seems like something they would take to. So while Mikey's doing this, he makes the crack and also thank you for splints. And that's a dig at Raphael. Raph gets pissed off, comes across the table. It's just like, that's it. Come here, you little shit. Big blow up. Raph goes, that's it. And he just walks out. And Donatello goes, all right, I'll go get him. And this is why Joe DeRosa is perfect for Donatello, because Donatello, rather than going over the top and trying to make him nerdy, like, he is the most, like, he is the smartest as far as technical stuff, like making the phone work and all that. But it's more that he's just chill. Like, he's just got, dude, I don't really want to hit you with the stick, dude. Can we, he's kind of the let's settle it with a conversation, dude. But he's the only one that doesn't fight with Raph, bicker with Leonardo, and he gets along with Michelangelo on the, they bond over dumb shit like movies and stuff. So he's, come on, come back, and Raph's just blowing up, like, and he's like, you know, he won't let it go. Everybody keeps bringing it up. Nobody will spar with me. And he's like, dude, no. He's like, everybody's acting like they're afraid of me or something. And Donnie's like, no, man, that's not it at all, dude. Come on, just... And he's like, well, then prove it. Let's spar right now. And Donnie's like, dude, I don't want to spar, man. I want to eat dinner. But this time, Donatello's unable to talk him out of it. He grabs his trench coat and his hat, and he takes off. Okay, so they let Raphael go to blow off some steam. Morning comes around. Raphael still hasn't come home. His pizza's still uneaten in the box on the table. So they go check out their usual spot where they hang out outside the sewer, which is that warehouse or silo rather, that they encountered the Rat King in. Set up more in the prequel, or not set up rather, but explored more in the prequel. But Raphael's not there. And then we cut to April, who's trying to get an interview with Gridlock. And she's talking to her police contact in the NYPD. And unlike in the other one where it's like combative, where it's like, are you trying to tell me how to do my job? Like, she's got an actual contact and they help each other out. So he's trying to get her he's like, yeah, sure, I'll get you the interview with Gridlock if you promise not to air it until like after the trial or whatever, but you can have the exclusive. And she's like, all right, I'll take that. And he's like, all right, but do something for us. We can't get anybody in the neighborhoods to talk. Maybe they'll talk to you. And he whips out a couple of crime scene photos, and he's like, we're looking for these guys called we're calling them the Foot Clan. And April's like, what, do they not like feet in their neighborhood? And he's like, well, evidently not. It's part of their calling card that they chop off the feet of their victims. We've had a few high-profile crime bosses have turned up dead, and their feet are missing. So, and then you see in the picture, this is going to be a running gag throughout the movie, kind of like how in the first film, like the other actors that played the turtles in the suits would appear in like cameos. This is going to be the same thing, except they're all going to be Foot Clan victims. So the first one you see is like one of the dead bodies is Willam Zabka. And then we cut to Raphael and see what he's doing. He's walking down the streets, got the hat and the trench coat, and he comes across some punks hanging out near a junkyard. And they're not Foot Clan members, but they're Foot Clan lackeys. Like, they hang around with dudes that are in the Foot Clan, and they want to be in the Foot Clan, but they're not really Foot Clan material, So they walk up to Raph, start fucking with him. Raph still kind of has the hat low, so they can't really see his face all that well. And they start trying to, like, mug him. Like, give me your watch, give me, this or that. So Raph throws off the coat, blinds the dude behind him, knocks out the guy in front of him, and the last dude standing, and this is where we get another cameo from another YouTuber, which is Matt from the Rambo Raph channel. Also a big Ninja Turtles fan, so I think he would be good as this particular character, which I think for shits and giggles we should name Danny, as kind of an Easter egg reference to the 90 film. But so Raphael starts chasing him through the junkyard, and he's kicking his ass, but he's not kicking his ass with like ninjutsu. He's kicking his ass like, the playground bully. Like, just fucking with him, picking on him. And then he gets this idea, he's like, oh, you know what, I've always wanted to try this. So he reaches down and he gives him like an atomic wedgie, like picks him up off the ground by his underwear. So dude's all like screaming and shit. And then actual foot soldiers start coming out of the woodwork. And they come after Raph. Raph kicks the shit out of a whole group of them, while Live Wire by Motley Crue plays in the background. Reminiscent of, because at heart this is going to be a martial arts film. Old 80s style martial arts film. So the turtles actually going to be fighting. They're not going to be like falling off of fucking buildings and flying through the air, defying gravity and sliding down hills. None of that horse shit. Just one-on-one fist fight. Well, not one-on-one. This is going to be like a 10 or 15 on one, but Raph kicks the shit out of them, and then a whole bunch more of them show up. Way too many for Raph to be able to beat. And he's like, oh, fuck. Well, maybe... I'm not going with an... I don't know if this is going to have an R rating or not, but it wouldn't be for, like, excessive use of language. But anyway, you get the general idea. But he's like, all right, well, let's go. And then Shredder appears. And unlike the usual form of Shredder being like, all right, kill the turtle, he's impressed by what he just saw. So he befriends Raph. They don't know who Shredder is. They know who Hiroko Saki is, but they don't know that Shredder's Hiroko Saki. Shredder's new in town. Or the Foot Clan is kind of a new thing. They're a new rising organization. So he takes Raph around. He shows him the play. Like, bring back the whole big arcade room with the skateboard ramps where kids are smoking cigars and fucking playing poker. And it looks like a badass place to hang out, So bring back the hangout. And he lays out the whole deal for Raph. And Raph joins the Foot Clan. Alright, so during this tour we meet Cary, we meet her protege, Asuka. Asuka's another obscure character from the SNES game, Tournament Fighters. Not really any background on her, so you can just free to do whatever you want. Casting choice for this character is Peyton List. Tatsu is also back, except this time played by Bolo Yeung. And his position in the Foot Clan this time is going to be a little bit different. Rather than being Shredder's underling, he's more like a consigliere type. The old warrior who gives Shredder advice. Hirona Yamazaki, who is she was in that movie Monster Hunter. So that movie where Mila Jovovich is fighting dragons. She's got the right look for Cary, although I didn't really see her act much because nobody other than Mila Jovovich and the Chinese guy did anything. Louis Tan probably be a pretty good pick for Shredder, although I don't have anybody in particular in mind. I just want somebody that's badass and intimidating. Got to be somewhere in his like late 30s, early 40s at least. Then we go to a montage sequence where we see a passage of time. We get an 80s style song like from kind of very much in the vein of like Paul Herzog stuff, which is like the soundtrack from Kickboxer. It's like everybody loves a winner. That type of music. One of those type of songs, but not, for the love of God, not fucking ironically, not to like be a satire of like the eight, like do it like genuinely. But in the montage we see like a series of things. We see April asking questions. We see the turtles scouring the city looking for Raphael. We see Raphael doing heists and shit with Cary and Asuka and a couple of other people. Intercut with that is we see Raphael training with Shredder. We see Splinter looking at pictures of the boys, missing Raphael and worrying about him. We see Raphael frequently making phone calls back to the house. Mikey picks up and he just hangs up. Leonardo answers and he just hangs up. And since the people that Raphael and Cary are, kicking the shit out of are other competing criminal organizations, Raphael's not looking at it like, oh no, we're robbing like these innocent people. He's like, oh yeah, it's a bunch of scumbags. We're gonna go kick their ass and rip them off. To him, that's ninja shit. That is basically what he's been trained to do his entire life, is be a ninja. And in his view, and why wouldn't he think that, this is a professional ninja gig. We also have shots of the other turtles sparring and practicing, and the montage ends in one of these little sparring clips as Michelangelo gets Donatello pretty much on the ropes, and he's like, say it! And then finally Donatello goes, fine, Blade Runner's awesome, and he goes, thank you. So then we go back to the Foot Clan, where we see Asuka is going through the graduation ceremony, where she's graduating to the next level of the Foot Clan. And how it works, very similar to the first one. You got like the guys that hang out in the playroom. Then you got the guys that are like prove themselves as good like kickboxers and shit. And they graduate to like the suit. Then the next step is the headband. Asuka's been past the headband stage, so now she's getting like a gauntlet thing that she's gonna wear that signifies that she's moved up in rank, followed by Raphael's ceremony where he's getting the tattoo. And when you have the tattoo, you're all the way in. Shredder is essentially making the classic mistake that every gang makes when they accidentally bring an undercover into their operation, that they do it too quickly and they don't let him do enough bad shit to really be in the gang, but they just for some reason like the guy enough. Except in Shredder's case, what are the odds that the NYPD or the NSA or whatever three-letter agency you're worried about has a fucking turtle on standby to send into your operation? So he already doesn't have to worry about Raphael being a cop. He thinks Casey Jones is his sensei. He just instinctively does not disclose Splinter or the other turtles. So when Shredder asks him, where did you learn to fight? He tells him Casey Jones. So really, if there's anybody that can just be brought right in, plus with his advanced martial arts skills and so forth, Shredder just doesn't hesitate. But the higher up you progress in the Foot Clan, the more you start getting involved in like the real shit, like the drug smuggling or the gun smuggling. They actually specialize in guns. When it comes to any overseas import-export, it's guns. They export guns to Japan or whatever. April finally gets her interview with Gridlock, and he is in an insane asylum. Because unlike the other guys in his gang who just took prison time, he would not drop the story that, no, we were stopped by gigantic turtles. So when April hears Gridlock's story, she remembers this little girl said something about the turtle men in the sewer. So now we go back to the Turtles and Splinter discussing Raphael, how he hasn't been on the news, so they still have hope. The phone calls are him. The phone rings. Splinter gets up and answers it, and it's Casey Jones. But we stay with the Turtles as they watch April on the news, talk about what a babe she is, and then she's reporting on a Foot Clan incident, and they just start ripping apart Foot Clan because it's ridiculous. It's like, the Foot Clan? So yeah, like Mikey throws a joke out, and Donatello throws a joke out, and then Leonardo kind of bombs. They're just like, it stops the joke chain. They always made it where like Donatello was the one out of step with like the humor or whatever, but it really, the personality profile of the one that wouldn't follow along as far as riffing would be Leonardo, because he's just so serious all the time. Alright, so we cut to April O'Neil again. Now she's on the docks, and she's investigating a spot where the Foot Clan are working. She's getting photographs of like guns and crates, and she gets caught. And they of course recognize her as the hot bitch from the news. And this is where I would take advantage of this particular little chunk of movie is where I would really take advantage of an R rating, is that she's about to get gang raped. But Raphael steps up and he's like, yo, back off her, man. Don't. And they're like, hey, fuck you, turtle man. It's like, yeah, you're not gonna be able to do anything with this. So don't you just go back in your shell, do whatever the fuck it is you do. Piss off. Raphael beats the shit out of him and lets her go. Alright, so we cut to Cary and Asuka, who are doing their own assignments for tonight. And Asuka's going on and on about, like, guys she thinks are, like, cute in the Foot Clan, you know, like teenage girls do. Cary is not particularly interested because she's kind of like Lefty and Donnie Brasco. She is just all Foot Clan all day. But Asuka's still kind of nudging her, like, come on, there's not one of these guys you think is hot. She names off a couple, and Asuka goes, there's only one... She's like, there's only one man here that would actually be worthy of me. Unfortunately, he's a turtle. And then she gets out of the car, and this is kind of a reference to another bit that I forgot to mention earlier, when you see them getting together to, like, pull off their first job. He makes kind of a flirtatious remark. Raphael makes a flirtatious remark at Cary, and she shoots him that "I'll cut your fucking throat" look. And Raph's like, all right, chill out. And then when she turns away from him, she kind of smiles a little bit, like she's flattered, because she's seen Raphael kick some major ass. So, strongest warrior would be her criteria for an ideal man. Plus, they always like. They tried to pair up the... I don't read the comics, but I do know there's a storyline where they tried to pair up Leonardo and Cary as having a kind of a romantic thing going. I don't really think that... I think it would be more of like... just because those two are so similar doesn't mean they would be attracted to each other. It would actually be the opposite. Like, I think Cary would be more attracted to Raphael because he's more alpha, and when he's not pissed off, he is funny. He's got a lot of swagger to him. Alright, so Cary takes Asuka into this place, like this shed, and they got a guy tied up there. So the leader of the Latin gang, so this one's played by Luis J. Gomez. He's all tied up to a chair, and Cary hands Asuka a sawzall and goes, it's time to earn that gauntlet. Saw off his feet. And she's looking at the sawzall. It's already like been caked with old blood, and he's over there just like shaking his head going because he's gagged. And they do it while they're alive too. This is another important thing. Asuka takes the sawzall, pulls the trigger, she watches the little blade go up and down, and then just throws up. Like, she's like, there's no way I'm about to cut this dude's fucking feet off. So Cary picks up the sawzall, and she's like, It's okay. I'll let you work your way up to it. It's like, but to be in the Foot Clan, it takes total dedication. And she tells this twisted fucking story about how her father, she convinced her father to train her for the Foot Clan. And it's like, my father told me I had to be ruthless to be a foot soldier. So one day, I spied a woman and her child getting into their car, the market. I snuck away from father, and I killed them both. I bring back her finger to show that I did it. He started my training the next day. And then she just goes to cutting this dude's feet off. And we don't actually see her cut the feet off like it's something fucking hostile. But we see her start to go at the feet, and then the rest of it is just sound and Asuka's face as she watches this happen in horror. So now we go back to the turtle den. The turtles are again watching the news. April's doing a story on the Foot Clan again and the arms shipment, and they're showing the pictures. And Leo spots Raphael's sai stuck in a piece of wood in one of the pictures, and it's uniquely his because there's something on it or some design or just the fact that it's like homemade. You can tell it's his. That's the point. So going with that lead, they start following April around. And we get that from very familiar homage shot of Shredder walking really pissed off down a corridor. Walks up to Raph, who's hanging out with a group of foot soldiers, and just kicks him straight in the chest and knocks him down. And Raph gets up and gets that Shredder gauntlet right up next to his eyeball. And we cut over to the two of them just having a conversation, kind of away from people. Raph's been balled out and he's got in trouble, and because he let a reporter walk out the door, you know. And Raph's trying to explain to him, he's like, yeah, look, man, they're about to rape that girl. And Shredder goes, so what? And he walks away. And now Raph gets it. He's like, oh, yeah, this is why they were so hard on me about throwing that scumbag's, head into that subway train too hard. Like, this is what they're trying to stop me from turning into, is a guy like this. And then his perspective on the Shredder, on the Foot Clan, is now different. Cry overhears Asuka talking to her mother on the phone, and she's wanting to come home. Cry slips off, and she goes to Shredder's office. She sits down at the table in front of Shredder, and she starts taking out the little cloth and puts her finger on it, and she tells her about Asuka and how she's made a mistake. And that she's gonna repent for it. Shredder's like, whoa, hey, don't cut your finger off. You don't have to do that. I knew Asuka wasn't gonna pan out, but I wanted you to go ahead and mentor her anyway, and let her fail. And I could be wrong. She might have made it, but I had to let you make this mistake on your own. It's part of learning. It's part of your training to be the next me. So keep your fingers. We'll take care of it. And then she leaves the room, and then he turns to Tatsu and he goes, I think I may have just made the same mistake. And I'm talking about Raphael. I remember thinking at the time that it was fortunate we didn't lose anybody in his first fight. Now I'm starting to wonder if that's a good thing. I may have prematurely initiated him. I mean, who would have ever guessed a damn reptile would have a conscience? So he tells Tatsu, he goes, alright, find out who Casey Jones is. Cut to nighttime, the turtles are up on a roof, waiting on April to get out of the Channel 6 building. Mikey's leaning over the edge watching as Donatello and Leonardo discuss the situation. And Mikey spots a woman that's about to get carjacked, so he whips out that grappling hook. He still has the nunchucks, obviously, but that stupid grappling hook they made him have in Europe, because for some reason nunchucks are taboo. I don't know what the hell that was all about. But, so Mikey whips out the grappling hook, and he fastens the hook part to the fire escape, ties the other end around his feet, and just casually jumps off. And you see the carjacker, he's like at the gun pointed at the lady, he's like, get out of the car, bitch! Get out of the car, bitch! And this thing just... And you just see a green blur flash behind him, and you hear the, clunk of him getting whacked on the head with the nunchucks, and he drops. The woman just shuts the door and takes off. So we go back to the roof. Donnie and Leo aren't even paying attention. They're just still talking about Raphael and Splinter and all that stuff. And then Mikey climbs up back over the thing, and Donnie's like, "What'd we get?" And he goes, "Got $10 and a 38 special." And he hands the gun over to Leonardo. He's like, "Yeah, it's for you." And Leo's like, "Oh." And Leo's like, "Oh, cool." And holds it up, the one eye, and looks at the sights. And we cut to April walking out of the Channel 6 building. She goes into the subway, and it's the creepy, strangely empty subway, except for one guy that's standing there next to her waiting on the train, which is Joe DeRosa. He looks over and he kind of smiles at her. She smiles back, and all of a sudden he's just like pushed onto the tracks by a bunch of foot soldiers. They grab April. They drag her off into some dark, creepy place down the tunnel, like the maintenance area or something. And it's the same guys that Raph just beat the shit out of. And Shredder sent them to finish April off. So, like, yeah, we're gonna drag her off here. And so they get her down there. They beat her up. The guy's like, "Now there's no turtle man here to save you." And then you hear Leonardo behind him goes, "No, now there's 3. So they kick the shit out of the guys. So then we get a bit of an interrogation scene with the leader. Leo puts the gun in the guy's face, and he's like, "Tell me where the Foot Clan headquarters are." And the guy's like, tries to be tough. He's like, "Guns don't scare me." And Leo's like, "All right, well, maybe this will." So Mikey and Donnie hold him up against the wall. Leo sticks his sword like between his legs. He's like, "All right, tell me what I want to know, or we're going to drop you nuts first onto this sword blade and split you in half with your own body weight. That scare you?" So then the guy tells him that where the junkyard is. Leo pulls the sword out of the wall. They drop him, and then Leo just kicks him into the face, smashes his head against the wall. This dude's out. And they tie him up and leave him in the subway tunnels. Back at Foot Clan headquarters, Tatsu is giving Shredder the info he found out about Casey Jones. And he's like, "This guy's a hockey player. He's on 5 years on a manslaughter beef. So there's no way this man knows jujitsu. And forgive me, I know you don't like this being brought up, but he fights like Hamato Yoshi." And then Shredder gives Tatsu that "don't even mention that motherfucker's name" look. We go back to the Turtle Den. April is exploring the place, and this is where we really get a good look at, where they live. And then we see a picture of Hamato Yoshi, which is Cary, Hiroyuki Tagawa. She sees a picture of them with Casey Jones, and she's like, "Oh my god, you guys know Casey Jones?" And because Casey Jones was a big story a few years ago, and she has the hots for Casey Jones, so she has a little bit of a what I call a Blanche moment.
Tight man with cast iron pecs, thighs that could choke a bear, but you could eat breakfast off of.
And we also see in the background there's going to be a busted Mouser unit. So Splinter unfolds the whole yarn of their origin story, except this time with a little more focus in this telling on Hamato Yoshi and Hiroko Saki, and then how he ended up in the whole bit. Splinter invites her for dinner, and she sits at the table for a minute, kind of dreading it, because it's like, what is this going to be, like, garbage and bug salad? The hell do these things eat? And they just drop a freshly delivered pizza in front of her. And then we get this movie's equivalent of the campfire scene, although not as powerful and moving, mind you. But Splinter does the whole saying grace thing, which also trips April the fuck out. He gives this really beautiful grace about thank you for bringing us, our wonderful new friend who's going to help find Raphael and make our family whole again. Say April's just sitting there with this look on her face, like she's so moved, but at the same time, this is the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. And then the phone rings. Donatello gets up and answers it. Raph's on the other end. He goes, "Finally!" Because this is the person he's been waiting to answer the phone. Mikey answers it. "I don't want to fucking talk to you." He doesn't want to talk to Leonardo because they're always fighting anyway. and he's scared to talk to Splinter. So the only person he's waiting for to answer that phone is Donatello, because Donatello's always the guy he can talk to. So you hear this conversation mostly from Donatello's side, where he's just like, "You got a job doing what?" And Raph's like, "What Dad taught us to do." He's, "What the hell does that mean?" He's, "You're a professional ninja where?" And then Donatello's just pleading with him, "Man, just come home." And Raph's on the other side, very kind of sullenly goes, "I don't know if I can." Raphael gets summoned by Shredder, and he's just like, "I gotta go, man." And he hangs up. He walks by the guy that is delivering that message of Shredder wanting to see him, and the guy's like, "Who are you on the phone with?" Raph's like, "Your mama." Cary catches Asuka packing up her stuff and gives her a whole, "you don't just walk out of here" speech. It's like, you're gonna have to earn your way out. So on the other side of the compound, Shredder is walking Raphael down a corridor towards some place yet to be seen, and he's giving Raph a sort of making an amends to Raph. He's like, "Look, my apologies," but he's also explaining, he's like, "Look, I got big plans for you. I have a vision." He's like, in the future, I want you by my daughter's side. I want you enforcing her will. I want you to be her right-hand man. I got big plans for you, so I don't want to throw you away. And he's also, it's sincere. He does like Raphael, so he's like, "But I need you to I need to make sure that you're all the way in." Okay, so while this conversation is going on, the other three turtles show up. They infiltrate the junkyard. All of them have ditched their individual colored bandanas and switched to the red ones so they can disguise themselves as Raphael. And they all split up and start wandering around the junkyard to find him. Donatello explores the outside of the junkyard. The place is a little cleared out because Shredder has gathered. So Donatello wanders into like a work shed where they're chopping cars. And there's a guy about to eat a burrito. And the guy's like, "What's up, cold blood?" Which is something he calls Raphael. And Donnie's like, "How's it going?" He goes, "What kind of burrito is that?" And the guy's like, "Beef and cheese." And just before he can bite it, Donatello whacks him with the stick and takes it. And he's like, "Yeah, sorry, man, I missed dinner for this." Michelangelo, of course, gets distracted because he's in a giant arcade room, so he starts playing that Narc game. You know, the one with the guy, that giant skull that's in the first one. So he's playing that, and he's fighting the giant skull, and these two guys walk up to him because he's significantly shorter than Raphael, and he's been talking to the machine this whole time, and they've realized, it's like, that doesn't sound like Raphael at all. So they come wandering up to him, they go and confront him, and he turns around and he does like a impression of Raphael, and this guy's like, "You're not Raphael." And he goes, "Really? Like, how many other big turtles are walking around here?" He's like, "I don't know, but you're not Raphael." And then Mikey's like, "Alright, fine, you're right. This is a crappy Raph impression. Try this one." And then he just stomps on both their ankles and smashes their heads together, which again is kind of, even this move is a dig at what Raphael did to him when they were sparring. So Shredder leads Raph into this big caged arena, and this is where pretty much everybody in this junkyard is gathered into because they're about to watch a cage match. And he's like, "Alright, go in there, fight your opponent to the death. Then you'll be worthy of that mark," referring to the tattoo. And then we cut to the other side of the cage where Cary is breaking down to Asuka. "You go win this fight to the death, and we'll let you leave." So Asuka steps out into the ring, where Raphael steps out in the ring, and we get both characters reacting to each other's opponent, which Raph is like, "Oh man, you gotta be kidding me." And he looks back at Shredder like, "What the fuck?" Asuka, on the other hand, has this look on her face like, "I'm about to die. I was sent into this cage to die." And we get some crowd shots of some Foot Clan members that are watching the spectacle, and they're unmasked. Some of them masked, some of them unmasked, and some of the ones that are not masked up they're seeing what's going on. They see that they're just basically throwing Asuka out there to be executed. They know her, some of them, and they're not. You can see visibly that they're not down with this. They're starting to have second thoughts about their association with the Foot Clan. And Leonardo's walking around the gym area. He gets busted when a guy comes in and goes to get some other dudes that are still not in there, and go, "Hey man, Asuka's about to fight the turtle." Wait a minute. And then Leonardo has to kick their asses. So we cut back to Asuka and Raph facing each other in the cage. Asuka's in fight stance. Raphael pulls out his sais. He looks back at Shredder. Then he looks at Asuka and he goes, "You know how to use these?" And she's like nervously shakes her head. And he hands them to her and he goes, "Let's get out of here." She takes the sais. They turn back to back. Basically saying to the crowd, "Bring it. Bring it on." And Raph says to Shredder, he's like, "I ain't doing it." And this is where you would drop the F-bomb. He's like, "Fuck you and the Foot Clan." And Shredder goes, "And tonight I dine on turtle soup. Kill them." So some of your more enthusiastic foot soldiers that are still in start jumping into the cage. Asuka and Raph have to fight their way out. Some of the other foot soldiers who were starting to have second thoughts start attacking the other foot soldiers. So the whole thing just turns into a riot. Have a scene where Asuka does her move from the game, except she runs up and she uses Raphael's shell, but jumps onto Raphael's shell, leaps off, and then knocks a dude out with her ass. So they fight their way out of the cage. Shredder and Cary and everybody's been alerted now that there's actually 3 more turtles running around in the playroom, taking out foot soldiers. Tatsu heads off in his own direction. On his way out, he grabs a Foot Clan turncoat played by Razor Fist, who's beating up a loyal foot soldier, and Tatsu grabs him, breaks his neck, and continues on his path. Cary catches up with Asuka. They fight for a second. Cary beats her, but before she can finish her off, Leo shows up, and the two engage in a really badass sword fight. As Donatello and Mikey are now stuck dealing with Tatsu, who has went to his office and came out with a machine gun. So he's just walking out, spraying bullets all over the room. And they take him down over by the half pipe, where they use skateboards to dodge the bullets. Donatello whacks the gun out of his hand. Michelangelo grabs him with the grappling hook and slams him into that narc machine, head first, right into the screen. He's probably dead. She gets a good whack on him across the face. Bounces off, ricochets off the shell and kind of grazes his face, so he's got a nice slash across the cheek. She attacks again. He gets her disarmed, gets her submissive, get the blade against her neck, and she extends her neck and goes, "Do it. Finish me." So he raises the blade up, spins it around, and just knocks her out with the handle. So Turtles reconnect with Raph over in the arena. Now the Foot Clan is divided. You have a bunch of guys on one side, a bunch of guys on the other watching, and Shredder comes up. He's like, "How many pets did your hockey player sensei have?" It's like, "Casey Jones, right? Or was it Hamato Yoshi?" And then they get all serious. Leo's like, "How do you know our grandfather?" And he goes, "Grandfather?" And he kind of laughs and he goes, "I know him because I killed him." So then they recognize him. Raph's like, "Roko Saki?" And Leo goes, "Our families have unfinished business." Shredder goes, "Well, finish your business, boy." And Raph goes, "I got him." So then we go, same deal again. They go at Shredder. Shredder's kicking all of their asses. One half of the auditorium is rooting for Shredder. You got the other half of the auditorium's rooting for the Turtles. And then Shredder fucks up. He injures Mikey. And he's about to deliver the death blow on him. This sends Raph into a rage. Raph jumps in and just beats the shit out of Shredder. Headbutts him right in the middle of the helmet. He hits. You see a big squirt of blood come out of Raphael's head. The helmet dents into Shredder's eyes. And Raph just continues to fucking pound him over and over again. And sticking him with them sais. And Shredder barely standing. He's beaten. He's blind. Raphael finishes him off. Throws the sai into his chest. Falls down. Tips of the sais come out of his back. Shredder's dead. Foot soldiers rooting for Shredder. Fuck off. Guys in the stands rooting for the Turtles are cheering. Cowabunga. Movie ends.
You still can't just be tough on the outside. Your real power comes from within.
And there you have it. My remake of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Alright, I'm going to admit it here. I'm really slapping together some horse shit to give an example of what this song would sound like. But I would get a professional band to do it. I'd get like Striper together. They're good at writing like those uplifting power anthems like that. Or have them do like a rendition of one of the songs from the Coming Out of Their Shells concert tour from like the 90s. I mean, pick the one that's like fits the bill and sucks the least, and have them redo it and make it sound a little more badass. Alright, so that's my pitch for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you want a longer version of me just working this thing out as I'm talking, you can check out the other one. Although I'll warn you, it's almost 2 hours long. So this is the shorter, more abridged version where I just jump right to the point. Also check out Teenage Mutant Ninja Sensei. That is the second installment, although it's a prequel to this one. It's pretty cool. Check it out. And I will be doing the third in the installment pretty soon, which is Teenage Mutant Ninja Thieves. This one's going to be pretty interesting too, because now we're going to bring in the mutants. This one is why the third film happens. Teenage Mutant Ninja Sensei is how it all comes to happen. So definitely check it out. I will be releasing the third one. And if you like metal, check out Maggot Launcher. Just dropped the most recent album called Bunny Lipstick. It's really fucking disgusting. It's a lot of fun. It's about killer furries that make snuff porn. Alright, and I'm going to leave you with a Maggot Launcher song to close this thing out. This is from our fifth album, The Adventures of Raider Muskrat. It's called Rock and Roller Rodent Babe. Enjoy.
I wandered into a nightclub called The Bust. Had a line a mile long outside of the door. I really had to know what the big deal was. Then I saw her on the stage and I fell in love. Rock and roller, rolling babe. In the spotlight on the stage, singing a song from the top of her lungs, blowing my mind with a sexy stride. Met her at the bar shortly after her set. I caught her eye with my unusual pets. Said her name was Slate. He asked me to dance. Wrapped a tattoo arms around my neck. Rock and roller, rolling babe. On the dance floor, holding on to me. Arms on her hips and I'm falling in love. Was a real good night till the bugs showed up. marching in the mud, chopping folks to bits. Grasshopper soldier, switch mechanic.